Good morning and welcome to Valley Views. I'm your host, Glenn Edison. We're certainly glad to have you, and we're certainly thankful for our sponsor, BTC Fiber. You can see them on Channel 18 as well as their YouTube page. So look for these interviews on their YouTube page and you'll see the complete versions. Today we have with us Jenni Veal. She's with the Southeast Tennessee Tourism Division of the state of Tennessee. So Jenni, it's good to have you. And glad we got to finally get together.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You know, we've had COVID was one interruption, threw that off, and then you had some other things you had to take care of on your end. So we finally are able to get together. But today what we want to try to discuss, since Jenni is with the tourism, is some of the things that are happening in the Sequachi Valley that you're aware of, that you could inform us of some upcoming things and things that are in the process.
Sure. Well, like you said, I'm with the Southeast Tennessee Tourism Association, and I'm part of the Southeast Tennessee Development District. So my role is within economic development to work on tourism development and tourism marketing projects in the 10 counties of Southeast Tennessee. So that includes Marion, Sequachi, and Bledsoe counties. And I also live in Sequachi County, so I have my heart is here as well.
Good.
But we have a lot going on. So I'm down in the valley a lot, and one of the things, or I can kind of give you a list of a few of the projects going on. Something that's really exciting that I think folks in the valley are going to see coming soon is all 3 of the counties in the valley received grants in the last year to do wayfinding signage and branding for the Sequachi Valley. So we've been working on signs to just help brand the Sequachi Valley, but then also each community can have their own kind of feel. So there won't be a ton of signs, but we're looking at doing some at the city limits, some signage. Dunlap just got a new digital sign through the Chamber of Commerce that looks wonderful, and that has the branding up on top of it for Sequachi County and the Sequachi Valley. So that should be up and running soon, and will be a great way for them to promote events going on and just anything that's happening in the valley. So that's a big project that's been going on for the last year. As far as the fun things to do for visitors, of course, Bledsoe County has a geo tour that was developed through a grant through the Economic Development Department at the state level. And that's been great, and BTC Fiber has been a big supporter of that. And we have 41 caches that are in Bledsoe County, and then also the Fall Creek Fall State Park, and that can be accessed through bledsogeo.com. So people who want to learn more about that. Also, we've been working on the Sequachi River Blueway. So you all have this beautiful river that kind of winds its way through the valley. I'm always surprised at how long it is. It's about twice the length of the actual valley because it winds so much. So we've been working to try to help, working with our county partners and tourism partners to identify public access on the river, because right now there are people coming to the Sequachi River already, and it's hit or miss where they put in and get out. And so we really want to help create public access to help keep people off of private land, but also help people enjoy the river, bring people into our communities where they'll spend money and then they go home. So they eat at our restaurants and buy gas and stop at the stores and do some shopping. So that's the goal of it, is to kind of create economic impact here in the valley. So that's been a fun project. Dunlap has a public boat access site on Old York Highway. And at the water treatment plant, or the water plant. And in the last year, they've received 2 grants to facilitate putting in a boat ramp there, because right now it's just gravel and dirt, so you can still use it. But they received a grant from TWRA for $50,000, and it's a non-matching grant. It's just TWRA wants to help encourage public access, and so that will help put in a boat ramp. And then the Lyndhurst Foundation out of Chattanooga has also made a contribution that will help with some of the parking and other infrastructure.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, I know Mayor Land has talked about that project over there, what we call the old Humpback Bridge.
Yes.
We used to call it.
Yes.
And some of his plans are for parking out there, place to park, possibly renting the tubes and kayaks and so forth, being able to rent them there and go in. So he's got a lot of plans on for the future.
Yeah, and I think public bathrooms, which are a great infrastructure for Blueways. So, but the Blueways are all over the country and really all over the world, and what they are is just utilizing a waterway for public recreation. And the good thing about it is that water recreation and outdoor recreation is not just for visitors. It's for the people that live in a community as well.
Right.
And it's good exercise for people and just good for our minds and bodies to be outside and getting some exercise and spending time in nature. So it's a project that's not just a tourism project. It's a project for the people that live in the valley. And we've had a lot of excitement. We have some folks that are looking at wanting to play a role in providing some access to the river.
Oh, okay.
So, because we definitely need to increase public access, and we want to be sure that people do not get on farmland and in places that they should not be.
Right. I think that's been a question in the past, that people thought they were going to lose their property. And they didn't want to do that. They weren't interested in selling their property, but that's not what this is all about.
It's not. No, I think we involve the National Park Service. They have a Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program, and all of that their role is to assist communities in developing greenways and blueways and just any kind of outdoor recreation. They'll come in and you kind of get a grant, but it's just staff time to assist a community with just how you go about doing that. But I think that just hearing National Park Service kind of threw some people off initially, thinking that they were interested in making this a national park or something, which is not the case at all. So we are not interested. There will be no land acquisitions at all unless someone wants to contribute something to the project. But we're just interested in using the water itself to help people experience the river.
Well, and whether people realize it or not, there's a lot of people that do water sports. And by bringing them here, I mean, there's places in Chattanooga they have those opportunities, but this is something different that they're not used to, and it gives them an opportunity to come and see some other sites.
Exactly. And like I said, when they come into town, they spend money when they're here, and that generates sales tax, and that's good for the county and the city. And then that money goes into supporting the schools in the community, the police department, the roads. And so there's lots of reasons why tourism and bringing people into town to spend their money is good for a community. So of course we want that to be sustainable, and nobody here wants things to become too touristy.
Right. I mean, that's been, I think, an argument all along, as long as I've been here, that it didn't want Dunlap to get too big. And I understand that. I think those days are past. But anyway, the idea is want to keep the area small, but things like the tourism, that brings them in for a day or two, and then they leave, but they spend their money.
Yes. So we don't have to provide 911 service to them. Generally, we don't have to, teach their kids in school and pay for that. So it's a great way to bring money into a community that's just left for infrastructure.
Right, because that's the whole point about the tourism. It brings the money in, and I don't know too many people that would not be for that, bringing money in.
Yes.
And plus, this area over here is a beautiful area. If you come over 111, you look down the view of the valley, you can see all that, or coming down off of Cagle Mountain, or anywhere actually in the valley, it's pretty.
It is. It's beautiful and very unique to Tennessee, and I think when people first come to the valley and see it for the first time, they're just blown away.
Yes. I mean, I know in Chattanooga it's nice to go to Rock City and sit up on top and look, but if you're coming off 111, you're looking down this valley, it's pretty.
Yes, it sure is. It is.
So or maybe some of the other, you got any other things going on that we might be aware of?
Sure, yeah. Another project that I personally have really loved being a part of is a road cycling effort that we've done region-wide to create as safe as you can, road cycling routes that are mapped out throughout the region. And so we worked with Shannon Burke of VeloView Bike Tours and Jim Johnson with BikeTours.com to create Bikeways of the Scenic South, which is the brand. We have a website, which is scenicbikeways.com. So if people want to see what it is and dive into the website, just go to scenicbikeways.com. But Shannon is the one who's really gone out and mapped out routes, and he's probably got about 14 routes, I think, throughout the valley.
Oh.
And they can all be modified. They all are mapped through Ride with GPS, which is an app that a lot of road cyclists use, and it kind of gives you turn-by-turn cues. But we also highlight, like, where can you park? Where can you use restrooms? Where can you stop and eat? So, like, I know Cookie Jar Cafe is on the app. So it's just great, and I've personally, as a result of being involved in this project, started doing a lot of road cycling, and I would say the Sequachi Valley is by far my favorite place to ride. And we're on, East Valley Road and Old State Highway, or Old State 28, and a lot of the non-busy or non-high traffic roads, and low speed as much as possible. And just going up, we rode from Dunlap to Pikeville one day, and that's a beautiful route.
Yes.
And then back, and then from Pikeville up to head of the Sequachi.
Oh, yeah.
And back, and along where Old East Valley or East Valley Highway begins.
Yes.
And down, and it's just rolling and beautiful. And so I think you all just have a beautiful place to ride. And on top of that, one of the things I've noticed as a new cyclist who was kind of cautious about riding around cars initially is the people in the valley are so considerate. And I know that that's not the case everywhere. I've heard of other people riding in places that people were not as welcoming to cyclists. But I have felt like so many of the people that pass by always leave plenty of room for us and slow down and wait if we're on a curve. And I've just been really impressed with how courteous folks are in the valley to cyclists.
Well, I think that's really a quality of the valley, is the courtesy that you'll find. Yeah. And you don't find that a lot of places.
You really don't. I had one day had gone longer than I'd planned, and it was a very hot day, and I ran out of water sooner than I thought I would, and probably had not had enough to eat either, and ended up needing to get a bottle of water from a gentleman who was out front at his house, and he couldn't have been nicer. He just made sure I was okay, and once I had my water and a candy bar, I was better in 5 minutes. But it was just so nice to be able to stop and someone just help me kind of get myself back up to speed to get on my bike. So yeah, I love the people down here, and they're definitely just so courteous and helpful.
And I think with the tourism and with that type of attitude from the people, that'll bring tourists back and more, and new tourists as well.
Yes. So, and also I think, the downtowns in the valley are all really kind of focusing on how do we become more, not just visitor friendly, but, more usable by the community as well. So in Dunlap, now they've got the Dunlap Mercantile and some other businesses starting up. Pikeville has a beautiful little downtown, and they've got businesses, opening up there. And so I think that's really exciting, and it's a great place where, people can go into the towns and interact with the locals and spend money. And so I'm really excited that all of our downtowns are really looking at how do we fill our empty buildings and preserve our historic buildings, and preserve, what's authentic about our community. So.
Well, I know there's a lot of buildings here in Dunlap that are being worked on right now.
Yes.
That hopefully by the end of the year, I think is kind of roughly, or the first of next year, they're going to be ready to rock and roll.
Yes, yeah, it's very exciting.
And some of the ideas they have are pretty neat.
Yes.
Downtown dining and just and other things. Just that are different.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think that's what will bring people here as well. They're different.
And I think it's neat that a lot of the people that are coming back to Dunlap, they're people that are from this area and maybe moved away and traveled even to places and got some ideas of what other communities are doing, which I think can make a big impact on a community and its planning. Is when you get out into the world and see, look what this place is doing. Look what Bell Buckle, Tennessee is doing, and Leaper's Fork, Tennessee. And it just gives you ideas. So it's neat that there are so many people who grew up here and moved away are coming back and investing in the community and wanting to make it better.
Well, you mentioned Bell Buckle and places like Woodbury and some other places. They're just small towns, but they really strive on the local and getting it better, making it look better.
Yes.
And having a better community. And that's what this is actually doing.
Yeah. And I think that all ages right now are interested in visiting places that are authentic. I think our country and travelers want to experience a real place, not just a kind of traditional tourism spot. That authenticity is important, and I think that's what a lot of our small towns can really capitalize on.
Yeah, in other words, instead of going to a place like Pigeon Forge where you have all the rides and everything, and here you have something that's special to this area. It's not big rides or anything. It's specialty items, specialty stores.
Yes, and people love food. When you travel, you always have to eat, and so we really try to help promote our restaurants because that's what a lot of folks travel for. They want to go into rural communities and eat homemade food and healthy, good food and ice cream, and so food is really important. And so I love seeing some new restaurants popping up throughout the valley and some of the really well-established restaurants being supported. So,
well, like you said, the Dunlap restaurant's been around for years. Cookie Jar is on the map, and I'm not trying to belittle any of the others because they're a lot of them are known, and people come back to those.
Yes. People will ask, where do the locals eat? And that's where they want to go.
Yeah.
And so restaurants are an important piece of tourism.
Well, do y'all do anything with with the hang gliders? Have y'all?
Well, yes. They we just help promote what they're doing, and so you all have the flying camp, which is the paragliders, which I've seen a lot of lately. I think I saw 13 up in the sky the other day. I couldn't believe it on a Saturday. And then the Tree Toppers, which is a private club for folks that have paragliding equipment. Is it paragliding? Not paragliding. Hang gliding equipment. Yes. So, so you all are the hang gliding capital of the South, I believe, and definitely paragliding capital.
I see them flying near my house all the time.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll be sitting on the porch and hear them. I think, well, let me go see where it's coming from.
It looks fun, but I'm not sure I want to try it.
No, I don't know.
The older I get, the more of a fear of heights I have. So. But yeah, that's a great tool, or activity to be able to promote to tourists that they can come and learn, do a tandem paragliding experience.
Well, and over here, it's not like we have a lot of airplanes interfering.
Right.
So they could come over here and do that.
Yes.
As opposed to Chattanooga, because you run into all kind of things.
All kinds of issues, roads, and here there's lots of wide open spaces.
Yes.
Where they can land safely.
Matter of fact, there's a field near my house that they use for landing.
Okay.
So, well, that's pretty neat. Well, before we close, is there anything else you'd like to add to what we haven't said?
No, I think that the Valley's just doing a great job. I think if there's anything, I'm personally a history buff. And so I'm trying to do more and more with gathering history of a place. And there is so much history in this valley.
Yes.
The mining history and the Dunlap coke ovens are fascinating. And mining history down in Marion County and Whitwell. And But even beyond that, there were Native American trails, like early Native American trails that ran through the valley. Apparently there was one that went along the Sequachi River, the length of the valley, and then there was one that came from the Hiwassee River through Dayton and up over Walden's Bridge and through Bledsoe County, I think kind of where Lee Station is, and then up the Cumberland Plateau. So I'm trying to dig into that and love talking to people that have a sense of some of that early history, because there was so much going on here for just eons, and it's fun to uncover that and just kind of connect to the past.
Well, and I know a lot of people have that history. I mean, they've known it through their families from years to years, but it's not always taught.
Yes.
And it'll get away from us if we don't keep up with
it. Exactly, yeah. The younger generations need to understand just how significant this area is historically.
Yes, because a lot of times history's not being taught today.
Yes.
A lot of other things being taught.
Yeah, we have a lot of work to do.
Well, Jenni, I really appreciate you being with us today, and it's been very good to have you, finally.
Yes.
And folks, we appreciate you watching our program, and remember, it'll be BTC Fiber YouTube page. That's where you'll see this interview in a few days. So with that, we'll say thank you and have a good day.
Brought to you by Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative, your full-service telecommunications provider right here in the Sequachi Valley.